welcome back to another game devlog. This one is number 53, and this one follows the year end. So this is the first new week of development that I've done starting on the second year, so my sophomore year of being a game developer. So here's the scene view. Last week I was able to wrap up the level from start to finish. So here's an eagle-eyes view of the entire level in its complete form. And we'll go ahead and zoom in on the relevant parts for this week. Let's see. So here we are. I finished up the detailing in this room, added a bunch of stuff like I usually do, and kind of followed the design. And added this crane here. This interactable should be able to be interacted here and move this thing out of the wall so you can go to the second area here. And then this second area, second part, and then this room here, all done in the usual process. Here's where you get the elevator access key card. And then the final hallway here, just a stairwell. This little area here. Going up the stairwell, connecting to the actual floor above here. Coming out through here, so this is the top level, floor 4, and then that was pretty much it. And as part of that, I kind of went and took this elevator, and after everything's complete, pretty much, right? I kind of tied up all the loose ends, so I took this elevator and I went back to the very first scene, because it didn't really make sense in the beginning with the stairwell. So in this little area here, I cleaned it up and actually, I actually implemented the functionality to transition from this scene all the way back to the first scene via this elevator. So now this has the elevator access. So that's all working. So tied those together, and I also had to, as part of this week, I had to tie the last stairwell transition from this level to the other level. So after that was all done, I kind of did like a final walkthrough. So what I did was I kind of started the first level and kind of placed my character, and because I knew there was some things broken about, since I went all the way to the end, and I was right. Some of the prefabs were out of place, and I kind of ran through each area that I'd won before, and as I predicted, coming into these very first areas, is like, man, these first areas are pretty rough as far as the design department goes. I could really go back and spruce them up a little bit with my new more advanced chops, but not right now. I just wanted to make them functional. So anything that was kind of out of line or didn't look right or was kind of broken, I kind of made sure I walked through every hallway, every room to make sure everything was mostly intact, mostly functional. And yeah, I worked my way through each level, all the way through, made sure all the VCams were transitioning right. And, mostly the things that were broken were actually things like the front wall fade room. I had changed that to be more convenient on the data access, so I had to kind of fix that for each of the rooms. But most of the prefabs are intact, so it wasn't really, I just validated the entire level VCAM transitions and all that from start to finish. So that pretty much puts a neat bow around the actual level. Now I have a level 1 environment to work with. Let's see. So I was doing that through the week, and it was one of those weeks where I had several kind of external distractions. One was a job inquiry. I kind of had to shift focus on that and do a interview and all that. I won't go into too much details, but that kind of took away from the actual project, and kind of shifted the day down a bit. So I'm kind of losing track of days where it's like now I'm releasing a video on Wednesday when I usually release it on Sunday. But anyways, okay, so after all that was kind of done, I kind of went back to my drawing board and like, because I'd been working on this just straight up level construction for like over 3 months now. So I kind of went back to all the kind of notes or kind of things I thought up while I was doing this, like, you know, features and functionality, and I really kind of organized them into like mini epics, like categories of work, you know, and kind of cleaned up and prioritized my work board, so it's really like focused now of like this next section, you know, what am I doing this next big section, this next big chunk, what do I want to add, what do I want to fix, you know, that I've been putting off ever since I've just been focusing on this level construction. And you know, I think I got a pretty good list before I actually start thinking about level 2 design and construction. So, you know, once I get all this stuff done, it might take a month or so. I can feel, you know, I can feel ready to actually, you know, start taking the next step, which is level 2 game design. So, what I did in order, because I'm not sure which one to do first. What I did, I started at the beginning, at the very first, and I said, okay, I'm going to implement features as they come along, right? Like, you know, and the first one was like fixing the actual, how do I even get into this main level, right? It's, you know, starting from the beginning. So I kind of had to, go back and create a new ASM profile for production, and I kind of had to really review my loading process. You know, is it valid? And I had to add a couple more things, like kind of like this game manager mode. It lets you select, you know, it's an easy way to like just tell the system like, this is in production, this is a build, like I'm gonna hard code all of my settings, and it's just gonna work. I don't have to worry about the inter settings like in dev, like which state is it in. So just adding that, and then making sure and doing a lot of testing, where you're testing from the very beginning. Make sure, like, the plan was to do an actual build, so to actually build an unoptimized build, just make sure, because I knew like adding all this stuff from the last time I built, it's going to take a tremendous amount of time to compile all the shaders required. And I wasn't wrong. After I got this all sorted and organized and it was working how it should, I tried to do a build this weekend, and I'm like on hour 31, so I got to come up with a better way, either optimize the shader variance, or figure out a way to actually build, you know, keep consistent, to cut down the build time so you don't have to do it all at once. Maybe parse it out where you can cache most of the shaders, you know, and just keep it relevant. I'm not sure when the system refreshes itself and deletes its shader cache, but I come back every couple of months and I try to do a build, and the build time just keeps increasing. So now, you know, 2 days, you know, 48 hours to do a build. So I gotta figure out a way to fix that problem. But anyways, while connecting this first sector and doing the loading process, I kind of came up with more concepts, more ideas of like, okay, you know, eventually I'm gonna have to do like kind of like a checkpoint system, kind of data, like an SO data that tells you, you know, the relevant data, like where the checkpoint, where the player should be positioned, you know, what VCAM should be loaded, blah blah blah. And so I implemented the basic structure of like a checkpoint, like an initial checkpoint, to kind of tell the system when it loads. Like, so I have these new data objects, not just you know, data that kind of tells you, you know, like persistently, like, okay, you're on this chapter is unlocked. When you complete a level, this data gets updated, and this reflects in the main menu. And then this, you know, this chapter contains you know, data for the actual level, and then the level contains scenes, of course. And here, this new concept, the checkpoint, where it has certain information. It has the actual relevant scene data, and it also has this this SO that kind of allows you to execute special instructions, not just set the player position, but, you know, like execute special instructions prior to loading the checkpoint. So for this very first checkpoint, I kind of had to hook it into this cryopod in the scene, and that's where this logic steps. So when this checkpoint is loaded, it'll execute the logic steps of this this cryopod, and it'll allow you to place the character in the right position, and then open the cryopod, you know, with this checkpoint system. So that pretty much ties it all together. It was just a lot of work making sure that, you know, everything was in its place, and actually, you know, ironing out the actual loading process again, so everything, you know, works correctly, and kind of just disregarding all the other VR work I did and just focusing on just a normal game right now. So level construction's in the bag. I'll continue to work on these new epics here until I've got them pretty much where I want them, and then give me a while to do. But I'll continue to work on these things as we go. And that's pretty much it for the week. So we will see you next time.